And a very happy Thursday to you at 12:07 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
John, yesterday, L.A. County District Attorney Nathan Hochman announced that since December, he has made over 1,000 felony charges with Prop 36. Meanwhile, his predecessor, George Gascon, is busy.
Do a Google on YouTube.
Well, he's cutting bait with more criminals than the Raiders at training camp.
This is true. There have been so many Prop 36 arrests, it makes the L.A. County Board of Supervisors worried that their plan to close Men's Central Jail might be impossible now.
Well, you have to have some place to put them. And that was the reason that they wanted to close the jail. They knew that public sentiment wouldn't be pro-criminal forever. It was after George Floyd, but it's not going to last that way in perpetuity. So if you get rid of the jail, you can elect a tough-on-crime prosecutor, you can elect tough-on-crime attorney generals, you can change out the makeup of the state legislature, you can vote on tough-on-crime initiatives. If you don't have a place to put them, then you can't keep them in jail. Newsom tried the same thing at the state level. Oh, we need to save money? Let's close a bunch of prisons.
Which, by the way, has not lowered the budget for prisons because the prison guards union has gotten raise after raise after raise after raise. In fact, when you hear Gavin Newsom tout that it costs $130,000 a year to house one prisoner, $15,000 of that is housing the prisoner. The rest is the salaries for the prison guards.
Well, if you want to get those prison budgets under control, all you have to do is take a cut of all the drug deals that they're cutting in the prisons with those cell phones they're not supposed to have.
Well, and not only that, what did we see? Well, to deal with COVID overcrowding, Gavin Newsom released tens of thousands of prisoners, and guess what? A third of them are back in prison because they reoffended.
Well, and they, of course, start with the worst ones. I never in a million years ever thought they'd ever let any member of the Manson family out, and of course they started with them. And now they want to let the Menendez brothers out, too? Give me a break. Now, speaking of people who should be in prison, Randy, we were emailed this story by virtually everyone in the audience. So I think it would be appropriate for us to begin with the California crime blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, the public wants to hear an update on Tesla Road Rage Man, so let's give them what they want.
Tesla Road Rage guy, a guy that we have been talking about for 3 years. That was the sound heard round the world when on the Glendale Freeway, this guy did some a-hole move and started honking at people, and he noticed someone was filming him, so he got out of his car and started beating at the woman's car with a pipe. Turns out he had done this to several different women all throughout Southern California. A few months later, he finally gets arrested, and he gets 5 years in prison. Only serves one of those years, gets out, somehow gets his butt to Honolulu, where he is then arrested again for violent road rage. And we found out yesterday, and this was the update that so many listeners emailed us at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. He got assaulted in jail.
Well, if there's any place you have to mind your P's and Q's, it's in jail.
For more on this hothead, here is K-Cal. See, you can't do the story without running that sound.
Oh, no. No, that eventually will be someone's ringtone. If people haven't emailed you asking you for that sound drop yet, trust me, it's going to happen.
I mean, anything could be a ringtone. Right, Johnny?
I'm still not allowed to talk about that one.
Now at 8, a man convicted of road rage attacks in Southern California, attacked in jail.
KCAL News assignment editor Mike Rogers at the desk now. Mike, this story has a lot of twists and turns.
The thing that we need to investigate is exactly who thought it was a good idea to let this guy out early.
Oh, yeah, and then give him a driver's license?
Well, and this is the scary truth of it all. Because of Prop 47 and even Prop 57, these things are pretty much automatic, where people are they're actually spending a tiny fraction of what they're sentenced to.
I could speak to this as someone who once taught an anger management class. If you have that kind of impulse control, no book is going to fix you.
Juan and Susie, it sure does. And now there is yet another one as this person was attacked while behind bars in Hawaii. That is where he is accused in a new road rage attack. We've got video of that today from our station over there in Hawaii. Watch this. There's a Tesla pulling up on the left side.
Where is he getting the Teslas?
Yeah, this guy must be independently wealthy. I wonder if he's in crypto.
I think he's a road rage Nepo baby.
Pulling up on the left side, that is Nathaniel Radamak, who is inside of there. Watch as he crosses the street.
I like him to be better known as Tesla road rage guy.
Well, it's easier to pronounce.
Walks up to a car that had just parked with an 18-year-old girl and her mother inside. You see him throw a fist right inside of the car. He goes back to his Tesla. That's when mom gets out of the passengers.
He punches the mother straight in the face for no reason.
With a baby in the car.
That's when mom gets out of the passenger seat and says, I don't think so, and walks.
So what happened was they were trying to get out of the car. He clipped past them. She said, hey, watch where you're going. He backs up, punches her in the face.
Again, a lack of impulse control.
That's when mom gets.
This guy was deemed safe to return to society by the state of California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation.
In their infinite wisdom.
That's when mom gets out of the passenger seat and says, I don't think so, and walks over to him. The 18-year-old girl gets out of the car, too, and then there's a brawl right in the middle of the street. Radamak coming back, throwing more fists. Honolulu Police Department arrests Radamak.
It's not necessarily a fight if you have a grown man fighting a teenage girl. That's not exactly Fraser Ali.
Arrest Radamak. You see the mother falling to the ground, but look, I want to show you more pictures here of him now beaten up himself.
Poetic justice much?
Oh, yeah.
This happened after.
I mean, this guy got what's coming to him finally, but not from the California rehabilitation system, from a pissed off prisoner.
No, and you know exactly what happened here. We know what kind of impulse control this guy has. He can't keep his temper under control. But when you're in prison, everything's a negotiation. So you're, let's say, in the rec room and you're watching TV and a group of guys want to watch Judge Judy. And you have decided that you want to turn it on CNBC to find out what crypto did today. And you grab the remote control and you turn it off Judge Judy. Well, in prison, that's not going to result in someone saying, hey, we were watching that. She hasn't rendered her verdict yet. Turn it back on Judge Judy. That's not what happens. You take the remote control, you change the channel, and suddenly you have a chair thrown at your face.
This happened after he was in custody in Honolulu. According to the Hawaii Department of Corrections, there was some sort of fight between the inmates, leaving Radamak, as you can see on his face, severely injured. This photo taken as he sits in what we believe to be a lobby inside of a Honolulu hospital. We'll show you more video here. He was in court just this week on this new case where he has been charged in the assault of that 18-year-old woman and her mother in that car.
I got to imagine Hawaii's not going to be nearly as lenient as California.
I would hope not, although they are pretty nutty, too.
It is unclear what provoked the attack, but you can see from the security video I showed you, Radamak just pulls up in his Tesla, by the way, the same kind of car that was used here in the Los Angeles attacks, and just walks over, starts a verbal argument with them before throwing that fist. It's unclear exactly what is going on with Nathaniel Radamak, but he is back in custody, and this time with a couple of bruises on his face.
All right, Mike, thank you for that update.
So there you go. Tesla road rage guy got what was coming to him from a fellow inmate.
Now, I know what the proper response is supposed to be to this article. Well, the state of California failed the victims because this guy clearly broke the law and he assaulted innocent people for no reason. And he was tried and he was convicted by a jury of his peers and he was let out of prison far too early. And that's the process that needs to be fixed so that if and when something like this happens again in the future, we address it correctly. However, the jails should be safe places for the inmates, and any assaults that go on behind bars are not acceptable. And just because this man beat these people on the road doesn't mean the same thing should happen to him behind bars. We're better than that. We have a responsibility to ensure safety in all of our spaces, whether they be public or in jail, and that is something that should not happen. Okay. That's the proper response. Here's my response. The only regret I have is that they didn't kick him some more. This guy is not going to learn a lesson from any judge, any jury, any courts, any jails. Street justice is the only way this guy will, let's say, modify his behavior. And if he doesn't know how to watch his mouth in prison, then I hope it happens again. And not only do I want him to get kicked, I want some 500-pound Hawaiian to do a bonsai drop right on his sternum. Got that out of my system. All right, Randy, it's time to reopen the California crime blotter.
If the cashier is dummy,
Questions?
Now,
And
Johnny,
this one, go ahead.
this is a story that I wish was longer. So when I look up these stories, typically a crime story that's posted on a wrap on your local news is like 3 to 4 minutes. Sometimes if there's not a lot of details, it's like a minute and a half. This is one of these where they only gave us 30 seconds, and I have so many questions. Because 2 women got arrested in Long Beach after getting off a cruise ship with $150,000 worth of stolen cigarettes.
Wow, I know what they did in Ensenada, and it didn't involve La Bufadora.
For more, here is a tiny little report that I need more of from KCAL.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection seizing almost 750 cartons of illegally imported cigarettes in Long Beach. Officers found them in 10 pieces of luggage owned by 2 women who arrived after a cruise to Mexico.
You take 10 pieces of luggage on a cruise?
That's a lot of luggage for 3 days, unless you're Diana Ross.
Officials say the haul is worth nearly $60,000, which qualifies as commercial quantities of tobacco. The women did not have permits, so the cigarettes were taken and will be destroyed.
Okay, what do you think happened here, Johnny?
Oh, I think they're the drug mule. I think their husbands are running an illegal cigarette. Well, I think the guys that are sleeping with them are running an illegal operation. I definitely think they're all living in sin. That I'm willing to go on the record on. But they were the ones that were sent down there because I think the guys thought that the Border Patrol wouldn't be suspicious because it's a couple of women going on a booze cruise with a bunch of luggage. They thought the Border Patrol would assume that they were going to dress up in costume each and every night to celebrate whatever the theme was. Sometimes it's the white party. Sometimes it is luau themed. Sometimes it's a red party. I don't know. Women like to dress up more than men. So I think the theory was the Border Patrol would just wave them through. But the Border Patrol, they weren't born yesterday. And I'm sure these women look real hard, and they look like criminals too. And if you're working for the Border Patrol and you see 2 hard-looking women with 500 pieces of luggage, I'm calling them over for extended screening. That's my theory.
The thing I don't really understand, and maybe someone could educate me on this if you have knowledge of how things are done in the underworld, is whether you're illegally importing stolen cigarettes on a cruise ship from Mexico or you're stealing a whole bunch of cigarettes from a 7-Eleven in Oakland, who are you selling them to?
Well, I'm sure they're being sold on the black market in those encampments. You go up to San Francisco, for example, near my hotel, and you essentially had an outdoor mall going on with merchandise that everyone knew was stolen.
Yeah, can I get a slightly wet pack of Cools?
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you missed yesterday's show and you want to find out what happened on the California Crime Blotter that day, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can also do a Google on the YouTube because every episode goes up on YouTube. And do us a favor, share those episodes in whatever Facebook groups that you have that talk about crime or local politics in your area. Spread the word about this show, especially yesterday's crime blotter involving the naked intruder in Echo Park. Let's just play that little sample. Why not?
Michael believes the intruder was in his home for several hours and spent a lot of time in the kitchen.
He ate a box of ice cream sandwiches. He ate Dole Whip, a whole box of Beyond Beef burgers. He stuck in the microwave, cooked them, and then ate them.
And Michael's stash of chewing gum.
And I had a fresh pack with 60 inside, unopened. He opened it up, chewed all of them, and then spit a big wad of gum about this big, the size of a softball, like on my kitchen table.
That edition of the blotter was so bonkers, unless you hear it, you won't believe it. We don't make these things up. This is coming straight from the news.
You couldn't write that even if you were one of the most brilliant comedy writers out there. That is straight up meth.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Well, let's do that right now as soon as I double check that we're still giving this away, which we are. 790 KABC welcomes The Who to the Hollywood Bowl on September 17th. Tickets are on sale Friday at Ticketmaster.com, but right now, calling number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Live Nation. Good luck dialing.
And right now it's time to reopen the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy,
Questions?
And surprise, surprise, this edition involves the homeless.
A homeless woman set another homeless woman on fire.
Well, that's different from what we usually see in the news, which is them setting structures on fire.
For more, here is Fox 40 in Sacramento.
One woman has been arrested after deputies say that she allegedly set a homeless woman on fire. The sheriff's office sharing video of the incident. A warning that the surveillance video that you're about to see may be tough to watch for some people. According to the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office, it happened back on April the 26th, right near the area of 17th Avenue and Stockton Boulevard in South Sacramento. Deputies say that that's where they found a homeless woman with severe injuries. Sacramento County Sheriff's Office says that the suspect, 34-year-old Jacqueline Probiara, set 49-year-old homeless woman on fire. After allegedly setting that woman on fire, the Sheriff's Office says the suspect kicked the victim multiple times.
Whoa!
This is a violent attack.
Meth does the body good.
Kicked the victim.
No, it doesn't.
Kicked the victim multiple times, eventually driving away. Detectives are still working to figure out exactly what led up to that incident.
The suspect, who was an acquaintance, knew one of the other gentlemen that were there in that camp. So there were a total of...
Wait, so this was a revenge hit?
Well, I'm sure these homeless encampments have their own social networks. They have their own cliques. They have their own beefs. They have their own issues with one another. And my guess is someone pissed someone else off.
The suspect, who was an acquaintance, knew one of the other gentlemen that were there in that camp. So there were a total of about 5 of them. Came upon them. They had a brief verbal exchange, and she threw a liquid on her, which we believe is some sort of fire accelerant, maybe gasoline, maybe something else.
Oh, my God.
You stole my shopping cart. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. All right, it's time to turn you into Cherry's Jubilee.
And then immediately set her on fire. Now, the other folks that were there put her out, called 911.
The sheriff's office says that the victim had burns to approximately a third of her body, including her face, her torso, her arms, and her back. She was intubated for a couple of days, unable to speak or provide a statement to detectives. That was until yesterday, and faces a long road to recovery. Probiara was already in custody for an unrelated robbery charge. She is expected to be in court tomorrow.
So the person who set the woman on fire already got arrested for something else.
You don't say.
She is expected to be in court tomorrow and is being held right now on $400,000 bail.
The duck fire.
So there you go. Homeless woman got set on fire. Why? Nobody knows. It's insane. You know, there is a story that I refuse to download because it's so disturbing. But it involves a missing woman who was found in a homeless tent, but only part of her body was there because the rest of it got ate by dogs.
These encampments are filled with people who should be in prison or mental institutions, or a combination of both.
It's completely unacceptable that we've normalized this. And Gavin can scream till he wants, till he's blue in the face. He hasn't done a damn thing about it.
This is part of the story that they won't tell you. When they emptied the prisons, there was nowhere for these people to go. They all have records. They all have real bad tempers, as you can see. They're marginally employable, and many of them came from making their living through illegal activity before they went into the prison. So you let them out, and they go into these encampments, which are just ecosystems of criminality, and then you take the ability from the cops away from busting them up, because the theory is that they're there because the cost of housing is too high. So you allow these criminal enterprises to exist right on the sidewalk, right underneath the freeways, where we live, where people go to school, where people work, and we're told that there's nothing that we can do about it because if you bust up the encampments, you're being inhumane. Well, if that's the attitude that you take, you are responsible for giving the green light for all of this bad behavior.
It's interesting. You know, we take the approach in places like Los Angeles County of, well, we have to offer them housing and ask them 1,000 times before we beg them they have to move. In a place like San Francisco that's starting to turn the corner, when they make these mass arrests of these big open-air drug dens, like in the Tenderloin, they find that a good portion of these people have open warrants anyway.
Yeah, if you were to just go in there and just run background checks on every single person in these encampments, you could probably arrest 90% of them. So go do it. You want to bust them up? That's how you do it. You find one act of criminality there that you can prove, and you go investigate, and you just start talking to people. And you could shut them down tomorrow if you wanted to. All right, Randy, it's time to reopen the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And this edition involves going back to school.
TikTok is not a tool that is used for good, because there's a new TikTok trend that's capturing the minds of teenagers in Long Beach. And that TikTok trend is showing you how to take a Google Chromebook, which is a laptop that you'll see in several public schools, and get it to explode. For more, here's KCAL.
A 13-year-old Long Beach girl arrested, accused of carrying out a dangerous new social media challenge. The dare is...
I guess stealing Kias is so 2024.
Well, they're not 16 yet.
The dare is to short-circuit a laptop, setting it on fire, and it has become a growing problem in local school districts. KCAL's Michelle Gili has the startling video.
A local classroom filled with smoke. San Bernardino Unified officials say it forced evacuations at Cajon High School last week after a student copied the TikTok Chromebook challenge.
Why is this a thing?
Whatever happened to the ice bucket challenge? Remember that one?
Hey, that one was for a good cause.
Which appeared to ignite a laptop.
In fact, about 11 years ago, we are the broadcast partner for the LA Kings the one time they won the Stanley Cup recently. And we used the Stanley Cup as an ice bucket challenge to pour ice on Doug McIntyre.
How did he respond to that?
About what you expect.
Which appeared to ignite a laptop. In Long Beach, a 13-year-old girl was arrested for a similar stunt at Lindsay Academy. The fire department confirms there was a fire in a classroom. America Angone heard an alarm and evacuated with everyone else in the school.
You could pass all the bond measures you want to rebuild these schools. It's not going to help much when the TikTokers are telling the kids to light the schools on fire.
And I love how they give these schools these names to make them sound so upper crust.
It's just like, why are you guys doing that? It's just damaging the school property, you know, like things they own.
A district spokesperson confirms that the middle school student was taken into custody on suspicion of arson. No one was hurt, and the damage was confined to the Chromebook. Long Beach Unified says we recently issued a district-wide message to parents and guardians urging them to speak with their children about the dangers of participating in social media challenges.
How do you think those talks go?
Hey, Johnny, when you go to school tomorrow, I don't care if all of your friends are blowing up laptops. Just because they blow up a laptop doesn't mean you have to blow up a laptop, too. You think for yourself.
That promote unsafe or destructive behavior.
I mean, it was a couple of years ago that the challenge was to destroy a school bathroom toilet.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I talked to someone who was a vice principal. He said as soon as they started sharing those videos on TikTok, you couldn't go to the bathroom at the school because they would destroy it. And when I say destroy it, I mean they would rip the soap dispenser off the wall. They would destroy the toilet. They would destroy the sinks. They would tear down the stalls. In the men's room, get this, they would even tear down the tampon dispensers.
I had a feeling that was coming.
These actions can create safety risks, disrupt learning, and may lead to serious disciplinary or legal consequences.
May lead to serious disciplinary consequences?
It's not going to. Well, maybe now that Hockman's there. But can you imagine what George Gascon would do to these kids that are exploding laptops?
It's a crime of poverty.
Well, I'm actually talking to my daughter about what the consequences are, not only to, break.
Sounds like she's prepared for this.
Oh, yes.
To break any type of rules or do things that will put other peers in danger, other students, even, teachers in danger. So,
this poor parent, I can just imagine her daughter rolling her eyes at this conversation.
If she is struggling to try to find a coherent argument against blowing up a laptop, can you imagine what the birds and the bees talk must have been like with this woman?
Even, teachers in danger. So
a warning pops up on TikTok when Chromebook challenge is searched. The message encourages users to learn how to recognize harmful challenges to protect one's health.
Okay, so this is how TikTok works. They are able to know if you're looking for how to blow up a Chromebook. They pop up a warning telling you that blowing up a Chromebook is bad, but they don't ban the user who posts the video of blowing up a Chromebook.
I love the fact, by the way, that we've just, collectively speaking here, entirely given up on trying to teach these kids how to read and write. And now the bar of success is, can we keep them from blowing up the laptops?
Well, and to a lot of these kids, they look at making a video like blowing up a laptop, getting a whole lot of views as success, because that actually does translate to real money, and the money people can make on TikTok from illegal activity is astronomical. You want to know why the street takeovers happen all the time? Because there's a lot of social media money attached to people watching those videos. It's crazy.
They are famous in social networks that you don't even know exist.
A warning pops up on TikTok when Chromebook challenge is searched. The message encourages users to learn how to recognize harmful challenges to protect one's health. TikTok is removing content that violates its dangerous activities policy.
Obviously, it's not. But again, this is all automated, so they can say that they're working on it, but there's no person that's actually looking at all the videos and deleting all the videos, and there's no consequences for posting videos of illegal activity.
No, they're just checking a box that is intended to protect them from liability. It's like when corporations make you take those online sexual harassment classes.
You know, you can skip to the end of those videos, right?
You're the one that taught me that.
People just do it for fun, but like at the end of the day, it just causes like you a lot of trouble.
A laptop was destroyed at an Arizona middle school, the desk badly damaged. The same school district had 6 other Chromebooks vandalized. In Long Beach, Michelle Geely, KCAL News.
There you go. The latest TikTok trend, blowing up Chromebooks.
Another apple for the teacher. We just spent some time talking about Long Beach Unified School District and the problem that they're having with students blowing up their laptops because it's popular on TikTok. I can't tell you, Randy, how happy I am to not be in that profession. Listen to this. This is a tweet that just came out from a university professor by the name of Stephen Cicerelli. It's an Italian name. I'm sure I'm butchering it, but
good enough.
That's what it looks like to me.
Good enough.
Here's what he just tweeted. I just failed a student for submitting an AI-written research paper, and she sent me an obviously AI-written email apologizing, asking if there's anything she can do to improve her grade. And this is something that is what you hear from educators all the time now. And that is they're assigning essays to students or papers to students, homework assignments to students, and AI is doing all of it. And they bring the paper in or the essay in or the worksheet in with AI-generated answers. And I don't know what you do if you're a professor to keep the students from doing that, because that is technically cheating.
Well, the beautiful thing about technology is there are always new and creative ways to not have to do your work in school.
But if you're a teacher, how do you get around that? You just give up?
You do.
That's what I was thinking.
Since the computer can do all the thinking for you anyway, you don't need to be smart anymore.
I guess you can give them multiple choice tests in person or make them write essays in person. Maybe give presentations in class. But anything that you expect them to do at home is going to be generated by AI. A friend of mine, my other job is writing a newspaper column for the Southern California News Group. A friend of mine gave me a call one morning. He wakes up real early too. And he said, hey, let's go out and get donuts. And I said, I can't. I'm on deadline for the newspaper. And he said, just have AI write it. And I said, I don't think you know how this works. And he said that he let his secretary go because AI does all of his letters for him. AI does all of the writing for him. He doesn't need anyone in the office to do those things. I guess it's just taken over the world.
Well, at least for now, AI can't do a radio show.
For now.
I mean, is AI going to understand what's funny about a drop like this?
If the cashier is dummy.
I'm not sure. If AI can do a radio show, I can tell you this. It'll start out in markets 75 and above.